challenge for us today because, you know, you've heard Stravinsky and you've heard all kinds of music which does all kinds of things in terms of harmony, in terms of how phrases are made. And so the kind of highly normal way that musical phrases unfolded in earlier times, sometimes it's hard to really experience that. And it's not that we want to experience the regularity, but it's that if we get into that kind of feeling, then when something unusual happens, we could notice it. But if everything all the time is just, oh, well, you can do whatever you want, which, I mean, I'm not saying that's what music is today, but it's much more that case than it was in Vienna in 1799. Even at the beginning. Is there anything funny about the beginning? I don't necessarily mean funny, I mean unusual, although it happens to be also, I think, funny. Funny, comically.
Long profit.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's great. Right. Fantastic. So what do we normally expect? Dumpy. Right? We normally get a lighter feeling in the upbeat, and we get a heavier upbeat, a heavier downbeat. And what does he do here? Da ya. Da ya. It's backwards, actually, right? Can I get that? It's hard to do that, especially on this piano, because I think we often hear people play da da dum dum. Right? But it's actually the opposite. So I'd like to hear dee dum. Would you consider even touching the pedal? I know you don't want it to be blurry, but I feel like a little tiny bit funny. Yeah, it's better. It is better. And then even I need to pedal those too. I mean, I don't know. And then it happens twice. That's weird too, right? My piece doesn't do that. My piece goes dum 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 ya, right? It does. With no way it's going to go dum 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 dum. You know, I play a lot of minimalism. Maybe it should happen 3 times. Dum dum dum, right? So, 4 or 5 times. Dum, dum. Because that's what it is, though. And that's now. See, you're laughing at that. But I think that somebody in 1799 would already have been laughing at the second one. You know, like, it's silly, you know, like it's silly. And we don't know what's happening. It leaves us in an ambiguous state. We have no idea. Right? Okay, all right, okay. Piece is finally kind of started. So, I mean, look, it's easy to say these things. It's hard to make that all happen. But I think even in those 5 seconds, already that's all happened. Right? There's a little comedy about the reversal of heavy and light with the upbeat itself. Dee-da. And then it happens twice. Dee-da. And then this is silly too, because it's too long. Right? How does my piece go? Da-da-da-da-da-da. And this piece goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's silly. 5 of those? Should at least be 4. Or 3. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, 2 is my favorite, but it's fine. I'm already running out of time. I can't be running out of time. What about that note? I know it wasn't what you wanted this time, but can you just start there once? It's quite hard, actually. Right there. So it's forte piano.
There's no slur.
There's no slur. Yeah, that's hard, right? Because I think very often, especially here, we hear. Because this note, that's what's going to help me. Does everybody know that? So if I have this note depressed on the piano and I'm playing these below, you can't hear it out there, but that note is an overtone of these notes, right? So when I play this over and over, almost, can I hear it on your piano? Let's see if it works over here. It should work, right? If I play, there you hear it, right? So as I'm playing, there we go, right? So it's coaxing that note to resonate more. Beethoven does this all the time. And, you know, I really want to ask him if he knew the physics of that. I don't think he probably did. He might have. Or did he just notice that that happened? You know, did he just notice that when you play this note, it stimulates that to work on the Steinway anyway, not on the whole. Interesting. You can go look it up on Wikipedia. Why does that happen? Because that's the second note. It's the third harmonic of that note. And then the other thing is that this one is helping this one. So especially if the pedal is down, you get this sort of B flatness, you know, that's really, really helping in a marvelous way. I think the left hand has to be enough, but never so much that we lost that. Okay, you start right on it. Any more? Even more. What do you think? Even more, right? Because it's kind of strange. I mean, that's also strange. It's almost like the opera had started, and we just opened the door, and she was already singing, right? I think there's that feeling. So, does the crescendo, I mean, normal music, the crescendo goes to the next event, right? We expect da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But in this case, I don't think it's true. I think it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The forte, that is more than where you got to with the crescendo. It also makes it easier to play, by the way. But I think that note should be quite stunning. Not ugly, not accented in a harsh way, but really. And then what's really cool is there's no shape. And that's also got to be a joke, right? So here she is, she sings, ta, and then we have, like nothing happened. Like there's this incredible note, and then nothing happens. And I think it's tempting because of the expression in this one. People always play a lot there, and they play dee da da dee da dee da dee da, but it's not. There's nothing there, right? So I give Beethoven the possibility of indicating by not marking something that nothing happens, right? So just because there's no crescendo or diminuendo there, I wouldn't assume, oh, I can do something now. It's like I would assume, no, I'm not supposed to do anything now, because he's quite capable of actually writing a crescendo, right? Or a diminuendo. There are plenty of them, right? Or even the word. All right, we should move on here. This is too interesting. This place, okay, this is funny. This is a parody too, I believe. Can you play right there where they know where we are? Can you avoid any shape? This is pianissimo. It's a two-bar slur. I think it's a duet of soprani, isn't it? I think so. Two women up there. So I want to hear both. Not that much, but I want to hear. And then the hard thing, and I think he's almost making a game out of this. Don't legato. Right, so no edges, no accents. Better, and doesn't this one have to be just slightly more? Why? Because it's a longer note. And, can I stop for a second? I mean, this is a thing that I think pianists are always needing to do, and it doesn't quite always make sense. If you've got a melody, and there's some long notes and some much shorter notes, if you make them all equal in tone, then the long notes will seem softer. So if you want it to be equal in tone, you actually have to play more sound for the long note. Now, no other instrument, people with violin, they don't have to do that, right? Dee, so easy, right? Dee, da, dee, dum. I can sing that easily, wind players. But the piano, what happens if I do that? I hear dum, da, dee, and then that note is dropped out of the line. So actually, it has to be just a little more so they don't notice that it's more, but it is. Can you not make a crescendo? It's hard. It's really hard. And then I have to say, too, after all the craziness at the beginning, think about the beginning again. Dee da, dee da, and then da 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 dee da dee da dee da dee, and all that stuff. And now you have dee da dee da dee da dee dee da dee da dee. I mean, isn't that as ridiculous as the beginning was? I mean, it's just that it's a different kind of thing because it's square and it's quite concealed. The rhythm is, I would say, quite boring, right? It is compared to the beginning. So he's making, can we say also a highly Italianate kind of music? I think it is. I mean, Beethoven loved the opera more than anything. I think he wanted to be Rossini. But anyway, he really loved that, and he wanted to write that kind of music. And this is that kind of music. This is derived very much from the style of singing that he would have heard in Vienna. It's interesting to me, I think this is true, you guys probably know more than I do. I think that all the operas that were performed in Vienna in this decade, like 1790s, they were always Italian operas, so there weren't any German operas being sung in Vienna yet. So it's such a funny idea. And even the German composers, when they wrote opera, they wrote in Italian. So it's, you know, it's kind of a thing. It's all this is singing, right? These are duets and quartets for sure. Play a little bit right there. Yeah, this is better than it was before. Yeah, good. And maybe even this. Let's go a little bit. We do have to do something with the second movement. This I'd love to hear. I tend to hear. Right, so I'm looking for the intervals to make sense with the right hand too, because this is. And if I hear. Right, they all just say staccato, so you have to listen and hear where the dissonances are, but you don't want to put an accent on the beat because it's not the dissonance. Maybe you could just start there, right? Is that possible? So I think your tendency is to let your wrist go. So I always hear an accent on the beats, but it's really on the syncopation. Don't you think so? I mean, isn't it? When you have deedle 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 and the left hand ba-dum beep bum beep bum beep bum. It's not ba-dum bum bum. That would be backwards, I think. Much better. So in fact, even though on paper it looks like a bunch of 16th notes and 8th notes, but it's actually highly syncopated, right? Bum bum beep bum 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 beep bum. It's the beginning note that really is the event. That's the syncopation. If you emphasize the beat note, bum bum beep bum bum bum, then it does seem square. But I think it's meant to seem, you know, in opposition to square. Actually, the squareness is from the rhythm and the beat, but the actual feeling of this line is syncopated. Okay, let's talk about the second movement a little bit. Opera again, right? I see somebody even wrote that in your music, I think. I agree completely. And here he's written something, he does this sometimes, it says, adagio con molta espressione. And he doesn't use the word espressione very much, he usually says espressivo. Is that important? Is there any difference in that? I mean, espressivo would be like expressively, right? A kind of description of how you do it. Whereas here it says, with great expression. My sense of this is, and you could probably tell by just looking at a lot of music and seeing how he marked it, when he uses the word espressione, it is more the world of singing, and specifically Italian singing. And I think this is very much an aria kind of thing. And even the accompaniment feels like an operatic thing. The dreadful question I must ask you though now is, so it's in 9/8, and it says adagio. So how many beats are there in the measure? Yeah, you got the right answer, but you didn't really do that though, I don't think. So she said it's 3 beats, I agree. So how fast does that have to go if the, play again. So these are 8th notes. That would be, okay, do again. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's, so the beat, you think his beat is 1. Is that adagio? 3, like maybe for Messiaen. I don't even think, you know. Last one with the quartet for the end of time, it says quarter note equals 36, right? That's it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think can be, right? So adagio in 3, well, how fast is adagio? I mean, if you have to know, I don't know if this is totally consistent through Beethoven's life, probably not. In the 9th Symphony, he marks adagio and he says a quarter note equals 63. We're back to our tempo ordinario thing again, right? So it's just a little slower than the ordinary. So, I mean, I don't know, is it possible? Dum, 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 dum. Okay, it's pianissimo. Is it possible to have yeah, because the tempo we feel here, but if you try to make this part seem like adagio, it's too slow, right? So that was quite quick, and I'm sure that if you compared performances by modern pianists who play this thing to people who play the old piano, you know, if you listen to some of the people like, I don't know, Bob Levin or some of the people, I don't think Bob ever recorded these pieces, but if you listen to people who do play on the old instrument, they tend to go a lot faster, and it has to do with some of what we were talking about